I believe Alexander Total War is the next Saga title. Here's why. Thrones of Britannia was the saga of the Rome II Attila series. It takes many assets from those games and puts it into a British post-Viking invasion setting. The gritty themes and mechanical styles of Attila are all present here. Troy was the saga of Warhammer 1 and 2. Assets are not exactly taken, but we know it was built off the Warhammer 2 engine, and we clearly see the influence. From heroes, magical abilities, and with the Mythos DLC's mythical creatures. Along with each faction having their own unique mechanics. It does add the diplomacy from Three Kingdoms, but it is built off the Warhammer 2 engine. Therefore, the next saga, whenever that will be released, has to fit by these same principles. Firstly, it likely won't be Warhammer related, as that will overlap with the Warhammer 3 DLC cycle, which they will want to milk as much as possible. Let me now explain how best to make an Alexander game. On the one hand, you have the Persians. Will Persia be one massive faction? No. Persia will be split between the satrapies, meaning you will have a divided Persia of many factions, each with their own leaders, unique cultures and mechanics, but overall with one big unity mechanic that makes them Persian. On the other hand, will the Greek faction be just one big faction? Again, no. You will have Macedon, and most likely the Greek states subject to Macedon. They will be going across to Persia and assisting Alexander in their own way. In addition, I certainly can see a system where Macedon is divided between the generals, much like how they did it in Troy, but hopefully much deeper and much better. Therefore, Craterus, Parmenion, Perdiccas, and Alexander all are their own playable horde, basically, that invade and conquer Persia together. By playing as a general, the land you conquer, you have to make sure is loyal to you, sort of like the Rome 2 family system, and that appears on the strategy map. After Alexander wins, and if you still survive, then the wars of the Diadochi kick off, and you suddenly end up in one massive civil war. If you play as Alexander, same game, but you have to try and get a son and maintain the empire after your leader's death. This will then come with a few DLC, focusing on different eras of the War of the Diadochi, or at least that is how I would do it. Every idea I brought up is just an old feature already done by CA, rehashed into this game. There is nothing new that I am saying here. Unique, fan-favourite characters was the selling point of Three Kingdoms for many people. Three Kingdoms was also set in a civil war. Three Kingdoms also had one culture, yet broke it down into many more factions. Three Kingdoms had the rise to emperorship and the gaining of titles, which would be perfect for an Alexander campaign, becoming Emperor of Persia after meeting certain requirements, or being a general and slowly rising up through the ranks as you gain prestige and power. The more complex, more guaranteed diplomacy of Three Kingdoms would be a must in the War of the Diadochi. Let's talk DLC. Three Kingdoms also had era-based DLCs, allowing the player to replay their favourite characters, but at different stages of their life. Characters, once before minor or unplayable, suddenly become a real contender in this Game of Thrones over the Macedonian Empire. Names such as Eumenes and Seleucus come to mind. Three Kingdoms had DLC that opened up the map. Would that not be perfect in an Alexander title? More of India, more barbarian lands of Europe, new factions and new cultures within them, like what Three Kingdoms did. My point is, there is no title that I can think of more that checks all of these categories, unless the next saga is Shogun related, but I doubt that, as I think they would rather call it Shogun 3 and have more DLC. But I am not done there. Sagas are meant to experiment with new features. What experiments took place in Troy that could be used in an Alexander game? The main one that comes to mind is the factions are divided. The Greeks are not just ruled by Agamemnon, and nor would they just be ruled by Alexander's Macedon. Troy is not just ruled by Pyrrhon, and neither would Persia be ruled by Darius. It will be divided, and these divided nations would have mission-based events that score them points to gain honour and power to rank up their family's titles, and eventually break into a civil war and challenge their overlord. Let's talk Warhammer 3. What new mechanics have they added? A new overhauled alliance system, where you can now recruit units of that faction's culture if you have a strong alliance with them. A way to perhaps get elephants as a European power. In addition, you can now set missions for your allies, have greater control over them, and even take over some of their armies, if you have earned the favour points to do so. In an Alexander game, where it is basically one alliance versus another, this could work really nicely. The final point could actually be a more controversial one. Warhammer 3, in fact Warhammer in general, adds preset battles. Some of these in Warhammer 3 are boss battles. I would prefer a more sandbox feel overall, but I won't mind one of these battles being here, such as the Battle of Gaugamela, being a massive pre-planned event, but of course, that's not for everybody. Either way, it is here and works, and to be honest, the features Warhammer 3 and 3K have added, I don't see working any better in any other game. The Alexander and Wars of the Diadochi, I noticed, just happened to fit perfectly as being the saga of these games, and it is further fitting considering it is sort of like a sequel to Troy, leaving Greece to invade Asia. And finally, it was even apparently leaked at some point as being the third planned saga title, but leaks mean very little and they could be fake, and I don't want my argument to rely on that. But I have one more idea, an alternate plan that I wish to share. Apparently, according to Republic of Play, who used to work at CA, one of his friends at CA said the Sophia team, who made Troy and I thought would be making a saga, are now helping the Three Kingdoms DLC team make what we can best call the Three Kingdoms 2 game. It's not groundbreaking news, but it is new and does impact this theory, as I believed the next saga could have been made by the Sophia team. Therefore, there's multiple open doors. 1. Sophia helps make Three Kingdoms 2, and then makes the Alexander, or whatever, saga, delaying the saga's release. 2. Sophia and the Three Kingdoms team are actually making a Three Kingdoms themed saga game, not a full title. And that is the next saga, a Three Kingdoms saga, not Alexander. Which would also happen to fit perfectly using the theories discussed in this video. And C. Sophia does not matter, and the next saga is being made by another team at CA. Anyway, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and share with anyone you think may be interested. But for now, until the next one, MELKOR.